And now, our feature presentation.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Gemini Hills. This week I've been doing something kind of exciting here at the Hills. I've been getting all of my old records out of storage and kind of organizing them the way that I like them to be organized. One thing I've been really happy about since I've gotten back in the States is seeing how easy it is to get a record player now. You know, for a while they were kind of a novelty item, but now I've noticed, like, if you go to Barnes & Noble or even Walmart or Target or places like that, they all sell records now. So I guess that's all kind of, it's making a comeback. So I'm not one of these hipsters who's all like into vinyl and that's all that I listen to, and, I won't buy it if it's not also on 8-track. Like, I'm not one of those guys, but, like anybody, I do enjoy the sound of a good record. So, this has been a good week for me. So just indulge me for a couple of minutes while I share some of the weird stuff from my collection, beginning with Marcy Sings Nursery Rhymes.
Rock-a-bye, baby, on the treetop. When the wind blows, the cradle will rock.
I actually found this at America's Thrift Store in Ocean Springs just last week. And as soon as I saw the cover, I said, well, I guess this is coming home with me. Now, it's kind of a cliche at this point to say, oh, look, it's got a creepy doll on it. Isn't that weird? Isn't that creepy? Blah, blah, blah. Because, quite honestly, the creepy doll thing has been going on for a really, really long time. The Twilight Zone did it, like, in the 60s. And then there was that really lazy episode of The X-Files that Stephen King wrote, and it also had a scary doll. And so now that's kind of thing that everybody does. Is it's either clowns or dolls, and, ooh, isn't that creepy, and all this kind of stuff. So I don't want to say that this album is creepy just because it has a little doll on the cover of it, but you can tell it is from that same era of stuff from like H.R. Puffin stuff. You remember that? Or even Sesame Street, and there was one more. There was one with Clyde Frog. I remember that one when I was growing up, where they would use these puppets and animals to kind of tell stories and sing songs and things. So I did a little research and found out that Marcy, or Little Marcy, as she was called, was actually kind of a thing. There was like a whole series of these records. There was like Little Marcy Sings Sunday School songs, and Little Marcy Sings Sabbath Day songs, and Little Marcy Sings to Children, and I think there were a few other. I think there was a Jewish one even, So I think there was kind of a religious angle on this stuff. I had never heard of it before I got this particular record, but it was coming home with me. So, and anything like that, just, what is this odd little thing that I've never seen before? I'm usually a sucker for that kind of stuff. Next up is the Rocky IV soundtrack. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're saying, Jay, what's weird about the Rocky IV soundtrack? I had that. There were some awesome songs on that. You're damn right there were some awesome songs on this. No Easy Way Out. Remember that song? Burning Heart. And then Hearts on Fire was the one everybody really liked. The training montage song. Like, I think anybody who went to a gym in the 80s, had this. Anybody who worked out in the 80s had a copy of this soundtrack. This was when, I think Rocky III was really when Rocky went from being a drama to kind of like an action series, but they're all good. You can ignore 5, and Rocky Balboa was okay, but 4 was awesome, okay? But what I love about this record, the reason it's on this list, is because if you look at the back of the record, you'll notice that there's all kinds of scenes from the movie. Like, there's pictures of Rocky and Drago fighting, and then there's pictures of Adrian and Paulie looking concerned. There's pictures of the big fight at the end. There's Rocky looking all tough. But, Apollo Creed died in this movie. And so instead of showing him all dead on the ground, they just have this generic still of him. It's not even from the movie. It's just Carl Weathers standing there, like, dressed as Apollo Creed. And even as a kid, I always thought it was weird. Like, why is Apollo just standing there like that? And then as I got older, I was like, oh, because they probably don't want to show you a picture of him twitching in the middle of the ring and dying and all that. So I had so many questions about Rocky IV as I got older. one, if you haven't seen the movie, just skip this part, okay? But thank you if you've gotten this far. A lot of people don't make it this far into these videos. But first of all, you know the scene, it's like Apollo dies in Rocky's arms, and you know Drago's all like, if he dies, he dies. And you look, and like Rocky and Drago make this dramatic eye contact, and the music, dun, and I keep thinking like, this man just killed your best friend. This man, you remember, this is the man who helped you win the title back in Rocky 3, and this guy just killed him, and you're just going to stand there and, like, give him a mean look? I mean, Rocky, do something, man. You know, you gotta do something right now. So I never understood the dramatic stare down between Rocky and Drago. You know, it's an 80s action movie. I understand. Don't ask for it to make too much sense, but really? I mean, come on. You know, he might kill me. He'd probably cave my skull in with one good punch. But, I mean, if Drago had killed my best friend, I mean, I'd at least jump up and throw an elbow or two, you know. My other question was this, and maybe if you're like a medical person, you can explain this to me. What exactly did Apollo Creed die from? You know, I mean, like, I watch a lot of boxing. It's the only sport I really like, okay? When somebody gets hit in the head really, really hard, or like, you know, somebody like, you know, Mike Tyson, Ernie Shavers, you know, these guys who were really, really could throw like a heavy punch, you know, George Foreman, you know, you get hit with like a hard, solid punch. You don't just stand up and keep taking them like by the dozen. You get hit in the head, you get knocked out. I can understand if he had knocked him out and like humiliated him or whatever, but somehow he managed to stay on his feet long enough to die from it. And I just wonder, like, what happened to him exactly? And I mean, like, what does the death certificate say? He got punched to death? You know, punched to death? That's hard to say. He got punched to death? Anyway, somebody let me know down in the comments, how exactly did Apollo Creed die? And last thing I'll say about this movie, like I said, I've got way too many thoughts on Rocky IV. This movie came out in 1986. The same year Mike Tyson went professional. Now Tyson, if you know about him, he didn't kind of like climb ranks and then hit a peak, okay? When he went professional, he was already peaking. That's why like the early Tyson fights, like he knocked out like 19 guys in a row, and then, you know, when he finally got to go up for the belt, it's like he beat the world heavyweight champion when he was 20 years old. He won the heavyweight championship when he wasn't even old enough to gamble at the casino where he won the damn thing. Okay, but anyway, you know, he beat the heavyweight champion of the world in 2 rounds. All right, so keeping all that in mind, imagine if Ivan Drago had come over to the United States in 1986 and said he wanted an exhibition bout with some promising young heavyweight, and he had fought Mike Tyson instead of Apollo Creed. Let's just say it right now. You know, the Cold War would have been over a lot sooner. I'm just putting that out there. Final album I have to show everybody is from Pantera. Now, if you know anything, and I'm literally, if you know anything, you know that Pantera did 2 awesome albums. One was called Cowboys from Hell. One was called Vulgar Display of Power. But if you look carefully at this one, it's called Vulgar Display of Cowboys. Now, when I first saw this, I thought it was a misprint. I'm like, what the hell is this? You know, Vulgar Display of Cowboys? And I got all excited, but it turns out this was a promo disc that was released in Korea. This was in the pre-digital era. You know, you couldn't just share everything on the internet back then. So Pantera comes out, they do their demos, they're a very popular live band. They end up, you know, breaking through. They got a lot of fans in the States. They did a huge festival in Moscow, which you need to watch that if you haven't. And anyway, when they were finally breaking into the Asian markets, their record company sent this promo disc to all the radio stations in Korea. It's got some songs from Vulgar Display of Power and some songs from Cowboys from Hell, so they called it Vulgar Display of Cowboys. But this is, you know, obviously it's just a combination of those 2 things to introduce them to the Korean and the Asian radio market. Before you get too jealous of me for having this weird little Pantera novelty item, though, whoever put this thing together, Medicine Man is on there, but Mouth for War isn't. So, you know, maybe record companies don't always know best. And I know right away there's going to be somebody, oh, I like Medicine Man. Yeah, I'm sure you do, okay, but it's not as good as Mouth for War. So, Anyway, it's a neat little novelty item to have. Vulgar display of cowboys. So anyway, that's the video I've got for y'all this week. Let me know what you think. As you can see, I'm trying some new things, new title screens and, all that kind of stuff. Let me know how you like that stuff. I had one more segment that I had filmed, but I think you've been through enough this week, and I want to go ahead and try to make that better. So I'm going to work on that, and I will see you with it next Monday. So take care, have a great week, and I will see you then. Later.